Hey everyone, well, happy Tuesday. It is a busy morning here on Capitol Hill and we are already going, but I wanted to take a minute to update you all on what is going on, and that is that sometimes the cover-up is as big as the story itself. Yesterday afternoon, House Oversight, which I serve on, released to the public documents that we received from the Epstein estate pursuant to a subpoena in our investigation of that case. And in that trove of documents included the infamous birthday book and a page which Donald Trump directly lied to the American people and said did not exist. You can see it for yourself. His signature is on it, but also included in that was a photograph at Mar-a-Lago with a check with Trump's name on it and some insidious text on there about a fully depreciated woman being sold to Donald Trump by Jeffrey Epstein. You guys, it's all out there. But the bizarre thing in this entire case, or maybe it's not bizarre, is the lengths to which Donald Trump is trying to undermine this investigation. He is calling members of Congress and threatening them from signing on to a discharge petition. He's refusing to release the DOJ files under a subpoena to Congress. He is going to the media and calling this a hoax. And we have to ask, if he is willing to lie about something as simple as a note in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book, what else is he lying about? And why is he going to such great lengths to try to cover this story up? So we're going to get to the bottom of this. This is part of an ongoing investigation. The case itself involves hundreds, if not thousands, of potential victims and survivors of the sex crimes of Epstein and his associates, but it also involves the associates, the institutions, and the cover-up that ensued in the years as it was happening and afterwards, and is continuing to happen in this place right now in collusion with the White House. So that is our work in the Oversight Committee, and I want to explain why it's so important that everyone should be paying attention to this case. The fact that the president and the GOP are subverting the rule of law, and I mean they are actively defying a subpoena right now from Congress in this case, should tell you that they do not only not want these records to come out, but they're breaking the law. Now, we've seen this time and time again, but we also know that this is an administration that seems to have very little concern for the separation of powers and the rule of law and the Constitution. In fact, right over here at the Supreme Court, just yesterday, the Supreme Court handed down this outrageous decision, shocking, basically allowing federal law enforcement to racially profile people in immigration enforcement actions. We have not seen an attack on the rule of law and our Constitution like we are seeing under this administration, and by all of the enablers, whether they're the enablers in here or the enablers over there. And so that is why it is so important right now that we continue to speak up and to fight back against all of the corruption that is happening around us. And that is part of why we are pursuing this case. Now, I also think it's interesting that we are 2 weeks away from a potential government shutdown, and Donald Trump is more concerned about the Epstein files being released than actually getting a budget passed, because he hasn't even so much as contacted the major players here in Congress to try to negotiate a bipartisan deal to get a budget across the finish line, while he's been threatening members of Congress to try to shut down the Epstein case. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. This week we are working on the National Defense Authorization Act. There's actually some good stuff in this bill, including pay raises for service members, increased access to TRICOR, for dental, and for other things. And we want to get this bill across the finish line. However, my colleagues here in the House who control this chamber are messing around again, trying to put poison pill writers into this bill. So we are fighting back on all the fronts, doing the work for the American people, trying to get something across the finish line to keep the government open, and yes, to make sure that our service members are taken care of. So that's our work this week. I'll see you all soon.